business trip. During this journey, he rented a guest house filled with strange and terrifying paranormal phenomena. What is the truth behind everything that happened, and what will Holmes' life become afterward? Chapter 1. Sitting alone in silence, gently sipping a cup of coffee on the balcony, Wang held a thin, long cigarette in his mouth, occasionally exhaling white smoke into the air. His eyes drifted into the distance, as if recalling something buried deep in the past. Suddenly, his body shuddered, his heartbeat and breathing became unstable, out of control. A cold wind swept behind him, carrying the chill of night mist against his neck. Wang had developed a fear of darkness and sudden cold winds, perhaps after that horrifying incident 3 years ago. "Is that Wang? How's your business trip to Lao Tse going? What is there to prepare? Just a few clothes and personal items. Don't be careless. Lao Tse is different from other provinces. The roads are difficult, the population is sparse, conditions are poor. Some places don't even have phone signal. Come on, you've never even been there. You talk like you grew up there. It's because you don't watch YouTube. There are still travel documentaries about remote mountain regions. That was in the past. Everything has developed now." The man was Holmes' closest friend at the company. "All right. Thanks for the warning. I will prepare everything carefully for a smooth trip." 3 days later, Wang drove his Toyota Vios toward Baotheng Town in Lao Tse. The road stretched nearly 300 kilometers. He stopped several times along the way. The landscape became more winding and rugged, the atmosphere completely different from the city. Fresh air, silence, and peace surrounded him. Hills and ancient trees lined both sides of the road. His mission was to inspect a packaging factory for a future contract. By evening, he began searching for a guest house, but everywhere was fully booked. Only then did he remember it was Valentine's Day. No rooms were available anywhere. It was nearly 9 p.m. Darkness swallowed everything. Exhausted, Wang considered sleeping in his car. Then he saw an old sign, "And Ben Guest House." With no choice left, he drove into a narrow, dark alley. The walls were covered in moss. The alley looked like a tunnel leading into nowhere, eerily silent and cold. Suddenly, bang, something hit the windshield. A pair of glowing green eyes stared at him. Then a voice appeared beside the car. "You're here looking for a guest house, right? 15. 03238,000. 03254,000. Because the man appeared so suddenly, Wang was startled once again. When he looked ahead, the owl had already disappeared without a trace. The strange events kept coming one after another without warning, making him unable to stay calm. Seeing this, the man continued, "Is it you who came in here looking for a guest house? I am the owner of the guest house." Wang nodded unconsciously, and the man signaled him to roll down the car window, then continued, "My guest house is just a short distance from here. Just follow me." After saying that, without waiting for Wang to speak, he walked straight ahead to lead the way. At this moment, Wang felt quite confused, half wanting to follow, but also half wanting to turn back. Going deeper into the alley for about 100 meters, what caught Holmes' eyes was an old gate. On both sides hung the red lanterns, and the dim light made the scene even more eerie. "Is this the place?" "Yes, just drive your car in here. It may look like this, but inside it is very spacious." Looking deeper inside, Wang only saw a vast, dark, empty space. He continued, "Why is the guest house so dark? Sir, is there no one renting here?" The man, short in stature, with a round belly like a ball, both hands still in the pockets of his thick coat, replied, "It is because the location is hard to find and far from residential areas, so only occasionally people come here to stay overnight." Hearing that, Wang felt slightly suspicious, because if that were the case, the business would not be able to last long. As if reading Hong's thoughts, the man immediately explained, "Actually, before this guest house used to be very crowded with guests, but after a clearance project here, it became like this. My wife and I are now old, just trying to maintain it to earn a living." Hearing this, Wang more or less understood. Even though he did not want to go in, he could not refuse. "So how much do you charge for one night, sir?" "Oh, well, you pay whatever you can. I don't have a fixed price." Wang was surprised. It was the first time he had rented a guest house and met such a strange owner. Afraid it was a scam, he still made an offer. "So I will pay you 500,000. Is that okay?" "All right. Just drive your car in here. Don't worry. I don't charge expensive, so don't worry." Wang intended to ask more questions, but seeing the man's attitude, he stopped. After getting out of the car, he looked around and saw the house had a total of 3 floors. Everything was exactly as he expected, completely shabby and severely deteriorated. Surrounding all sides were tall acacia trees, and on the side of the house there was also an ancient banyan tree with a wide canopy covering nearly half the yard. At night, Wang felt chills running through his body. Although the lights inside were turned on brightly afterward, that feeling of uneasiness and fear in him did not ease at all. "Here, your key, room 307. There is even a proper water heater." Huang took the key and asked, "Is everything still working normally inside?" "Don't worry. That room is regularly cleaned by us. Everything is still working well." Slowly walking up the stairs, still covered in a thin layer of dust, Wang saw huge spider webs everywhere. Through those images, Wang became suspicious of what the owner had said earlier. Going straight up to the 3rd floor, in front of him was a completely dark hallway. He reached for the light switch but could not find it. He had to walk using the flashlight from his phone. Each step echoed loudly, and that was the only sound Huang could hear. It kept echoing continuously from the darkness, as if there were many other footsteps besides his own. The room was at the very end of the hallway. Huang took a deep breath to calm himself, slowly took the key, and opened the door. A creaking sound rang out. A cold feeling quickly enveloped him. When the light was turned on, Huang was slightly surprised because everything was not what he expected. The room was very clean. Even the paint on all 4 walls seemed freshly done. He did not know whether all rooms were like this or only this one. After a long, exhausting day, although his body was dirty and smelly, Wang still lay down on the bed to rest. Everything inside the room was extremely simple: a wardrobe, an air conditioner, an old CRT television, and a small storage cabinet. Huang could not expect more, since this was a cheap rural guest house. After resting for about half an hour, he took out clothes and went to shower. The warm water flowing down made Huang feel comfortable. However, right after the soap foam on Hong's head was rinsed away, When he opened his eyes and looked down, he was terrified. Under his feet was not clear water, but a deep red color, as if he was standing in a pool of blood. Wang screamed and quickly jumped back, but in an instant, everything returned to normal. Looking up at the corner of the bathroom, he realized the cause was a small red bulb installed inside. He had never seen such a setup in any guest house before. Although he understood the reason, it still made him uneasy and disturbed. Ignoring that he was still naked, Wang quickly grabbed a towel and walked out. Sitting on the wooden chair beside the cabinet, Hong's face still showed clear shock and emptiness. The atmosphere in the room suddenly became strangely dark. After nearly half an hour, Hong finally managed to calm down. Although he didn't want to, he still had to step back into the bathroom because he had not finished rinsing off the remaining soap bubbles on his body. The moment he stepped inside, unlike before, goosebumps immediately rose all over him. He felt that somewhere deep in the darkness, and I was silently watching him with fixed attention. He slowly turned on the shower knob, but the moment the water touched his skin, he was shocked it was freezing cold like ice. Realizing the hot water must have run out, and unwilling to wait, he gritted his teeth and endured it. Already carrying fear inside him, the icy water pushed that fear to its peak, making his whole body tremble uncontrollably as if something inside him was shrinking away from the cold. After finishing, he quickly dried himself to escape the cold, but when he reached for the towel and looked into the mirror, he suddenly froze in fear. For a brief moment, he thought the reflection was not himself, but a mass of long disheveled hair covering the entire mirror. He screamed again, but that image disappeared instantly, replaced by his own face filled with extreme terror. Whether it was an illusion or not, he didn't care anymore and rushed out of the bathroom at full speed. Since arriving here, he had continuously experienced strange and unexplainable phenomena, and he slowly realized something about this place was extremely wrong. After changing his clothes, his phone rang, and it was Hein, his closest friend, calling to check on him. Hong answered and hesitated before admitting that something strange had happened. He described everything, saying the place felt like it was haunted and nothing made sense. On the other side, Hein laughed and joked at first, thinking he was exaggerating, even teasing him about meeting girls there. But Hong insisted it was serious, so Hein stopped laughing and told him to explain clearly. Hong then recounted everything from the strange owl-like creature he saw earlier to the terrifying incidents inside the bathroom. Hearing this, Hein felt chills and said it sounded like a horror movie. They then switched to a video call, and even through the screen, the atmosphere of the room felt deeply unsettling. When the camera pointed toward the bathroom, Hein immediately felt his hair stand on end. He admitted the place looked strange even through the phone and asked why Hong didn't stay in a proper hotel. Hong explained that everything was fully booked due to the holiday. They continued talking until nearly 11 p.m. when Hein became exhausted and fell asleep, leaving the call. The room fell into heavy silence again, and Hong stared out the window at the dark, swaying trees. He considered staying awake all night out of fear that something would happen if he slept, but he knew he still had to meet a partner tomorrow. So he put on headphones, turned the music loud, and forced himself to sleep. He left the lights on and kept the door slightly open in case he needed to escape. While drifting into pop music, he suddenly heard a faint dripping sound like water. At first, he thought it was part of the song, but it wasn't. The sound continued steadily, drop by drop, and no matter how loud he raised the volume, it still pierced through his ears. When he removed the headphones, the sound became even clearer and more disturbing. He slowly walked toward the bathroom door, and when he was only about 3 steps away, he suddenly froze as he heard rushing water from inside, as if someone had just turned on the tap violently. Before he could react, the main door slowly creaked open, revealing a pale, round face peeking inside like dough. Hong screamed and stepped back in panic, only realizing it was a short, heavy woman standing there. She calmly asked why he was shouting and introduced herself as the owner of the guest house, explaining she came up because someone had checked in. Still shaken, Hong asked why she entered without knocking. She said she didn't want to disturb him thinking he was asleep, and then questioned why he had left the door wide open. Hong awkwardly said he forgot to close it earlier and nervously asked if there was theft around. The woman said there had never been theft before, but caution was still necessary. She opened the door wider, and the light from inside made her red coat look strangely vivid and unsettling. Hong felt uneasy for no clear reason, as if the color itself carried something wrong. He also noticed something strange. Both she and the earlier owner always kept their hands inside their coats, never showing them. It would normally make sense in cold weather, but it was not that cold at all. He didn't dare ask about it, only keeping it in mind silently. Finally, the woman told him it was late and advised him to rest early, reminding him to lock the door carefully. Huang nodded slightly with a faint smile as the woman walked out of the room. He watched her until she disappeared, then stepped back inside. A chill ran down his spine when he remembered one detail. Her wooden clogs made no sound at all. He thought back to his own quiet steps, which had still echoed. Could it be? "She's not normal," he muttered. Fear stopped him from thinking further. Tonight had already been terrifying enough. If he imagined more, he might collapse. Thankfully, silence returned, except for the slow ticking of the clock, marking time in heavy, weary beats. Soon, Hong's eyelids twitched as a sorrowful female voice began to sing, soft and haunting. "The night is deep / the water cold. Moon hangs suspended. Who understands whom?" His eyes opened fully, but his body stayed frozen. He dared not move, afraid of making a sound, afraid she might notice him. Gradually, the singing faded, leaving him drenched in sweat, pale and trembling. He pulled the blanket down, gasping, but a sudden insane laughter erupted, deranged, careless, and terrifying. The sounds attacked him relentlessly, every second stretching his fear to the edge of madness. Cutting through the laughter and her strange monologue, a deep, angry voice roared, "That girl, why are you singing nonsense at night? I'll give you a beating right now, though not loud." It was unmistakably the master's voice from below. Silence followed, then the girl's desperate crying, as if being dragged somewhere. The mistress's voice joined, trying to stop him. "Stop. She's just foolish. Teach her slowly. Yelling at her every day only breaks her. It's your fault, spoiling her, failing to teach." If you won't, I will. A slap rang out, and the girl's cries became even sharper. Huang imagined the scene below, chaotic and horrifying, even without seeing it. Unable to sleep, Huang threw off the blanket and slowly opened the door. The sounds grew louder, drawing him down the stairs step by cautious step. Curiosity guided him, not the desire to intervene. This was their family's matter, and he knew nothing. At the first floor, he hid behind a distant column and listened. Strangely, the noise had vanished. He whispered to himself, so strange was that a dream. Taking a deep breath to calm down, he approached the room again. The faint light spilling out and the cold shivers crawling up his spine made each step more tense. Peeking inside, Huang froze. The room was empty, nothing like he had imagined. Dust thickly covered all furniture, and cobwebs stretched across the walls like endless nets. While processing this, a sudden chill ran down his back. A hand landed on his shoulder, making him jump. Turning quickly, he saw a girl in a white dress, eyes full of sorrow, looking at him as she asked softly, "Who are you? Why are you sneaking around here at night?" Huang's hands and legs were still trembling, his eyes wide with fear. "You are. Who are you?" "I'm the daughter of the master and mistress of this inn. You must be the guest staying here, right?" "Yes, but just now I heard noises downstairs, like an argument. When I went down, it was quiet." "Why?" The girl looked surprised. "I didn't hear anything. Maybe you imagined it." Huang shook his head firmly. "No, I definitely heard people. I even heard singing." "Were you standing on the balcony just now singing?" She looked even more surprised. "No, it wasn't me. Maybe you heard Le instead." "Le? I don't understand. It's a long story. After a huge shock, her mind hasn't been normal. Sometimes at night she goes to the balcony to sing and mutter to herself. This has affected the inn business, making my father upset." 43. 0 hours 21 minutes and 0 seconds. 01. 0 hours 22 minutes and 0 seconds. 0. Huang was silent for a few seconds, thinking, then said sympathetically, "I see. Maybe I really misheard. But why are you still awake so late? Also, I don't even know your name. I'm Tu. What about you?" "I'm Huang. I came here for work and stayed one night." "But you still haven't answered. Why are you up so late?" Tu turned to the railing, resting her hands on it, gazing into the distance. "I don't know. I haven't had a good night's sleep for a long time. Every night I come out here to watch the moon. It calms me." Silence fell. Huang wasn't sure whether to continue talking or return to his room, but Tu spoke first. "Huang, I know this is a bit forward, but do you have a girlfriend?" Huang was surprised, feeling the question was unusually personal, even suggestive. "Ah, well, you probably won't believe me, but I don't have a girlfriend yet." Strangely, Tu didn't seem surprised, as if she already knew. "Me neither. Sometimes I don't understand myself. Many people have pursued me, but I've never been moved. Sometimes I even wonder if I belong to the third gender." Huang felt awkward. "Why would you say that? I'm the same. Thinking about love makes me uneasy. Maybe it's just that the right time hasn't come yet." Tu turned her head, giving a charming but meaningful smile. "Have you ever thought about staying single forever?" Huang was surprised by the blunt question and only smiled. I've never thought about it seriously, but probably not. At some point, people want a home to return to. Right now, I just focus on my career. Tu exhaled slowly. From a certain perspective, you are an ideal man. I hope you will soon find your other half. Thank you, and I wish you the same. Silence returned. They had just met, and there wasn't much to say. Finally, Huang spoke. I should go back to my room. You should rest too. He left quietly, glancing back to seat is still looking at the sky, lost in thought. Back in his room, Huang checked the clock. Almost 2 a.m. Unlike earlier, sleep didn't come easily. Lying down, he stared blankly, many questions still unresolved. Everyone he had met in the inn seemed unusually mysterious. Even the sounds and stories appeared suddenly, disappearing without warning. Lost in chaotic thoughts, Huang suddenly heard a car horn blaring outside. He didn't know who it was, but honking at this hour seemed rude. The inn owner rushed out angrily. What are you doing honking in the middle of the night? One call would be enough. The black cars drove straight into the yard and stopped near the lobby, blocking the way. The owner banged on the glass, shouting, "Why are you parking here? This is a passage. Move them to the other shed." A man leaned out with a fierce face. "Shut up, we like it here." "Okay." Seeing their attitude, the owner relented. "All right, you are here to rent rooms, right?" "Of course. Stop asking stupid questions. Prepare the 2 best VIP rooms." "Yes, sir. Right away. Please get out of the car." When all of them had come downstairs, the boss saw a total of 7 people, each wearing a grim face, the smell of alcohol thick on them. Among them was a man dressed in white, starkly different from the rest, and even without asking, the boss could tell he was the leader. Perhaps he was too drunk now, his eyes half closed, needing 2 men to guide him up the stairs, and somehow, whether by accident or design, the boss had assigned them to rooms right next to Holmes, making him uneasy and anxious. So when he heard their footsteps ascending, Huang hurried to bolt the door and cut all the lights, alone and defenseless, knowing that if anything went wrong tonight, no one could save him. Because his room was so quiet and right next door, Huang could hear nearly everything they said. This time, An didn't go himself and set Kauthin instead, causing us so much trouble. Another sighed in response. Well, he had to test him, right? A tiger's son must be fierce like his father. If we kept him caged forever, how could he ever run the jungle? You're right, but he should only handle minor deals, not something this big. What if something goes wrong? Before he could finish, the other interrupted. Shut your mouth. You think An is stupid. Kauthin is just a cover. Everything is perfectly planned. Everyone knows that. But I worrying about unexpected situations. He lacks experience in handling matters. Then what should we do? Never mind. Nothing will happen. I'll just nap a bit. Huang, lying in the next room, shivered with cold sweat just hearing them. If he guessed correctly, these were gangsters planning a highly dangerous operation, almost certainly an illegal goods deal, far more dangerous than normal gangsters. If they sensed a threat, they would kill mercilessly. Fate had cruelly placed him in deadly peril. One misstep could cost him his life, and even if he survived tonight, it would become a haunting memory he would never forget. The clock ticked heavily, each second intensifying Hong's fear. Ghosts might be frightening, but compared to the men behind that wall, they were nothing. An hour passed without a sound, as if all of them had fallen asleep. The thought of sneaking out flashed through Hong's mind, but he feared even a small noise could wake them, which would be extremely dangerous. After a moment's hesitation, he decided to move, realizing that if he didn't leave now, tomorrow morning, when they discovered someone next door, he would face trouble. Yet as he set one foot off the bed, a voice from the neighboring room froze him. "I want girls to serve me. Where are you? Go get them now." Huang froze. One foot on the bed, one on the floor. "Ka Thin, you awake?" "I said bring girls here. What are you mumbling about? Look, you've drunk a bit too much today. It's best to rest. We have important things to do tomorrow. You bastard, you like arguing? Want me to deal with you right now?" The voice grew flustered. "I won't, sir. Wait here, I'll get them for you. Hurry up, I'm impatient. Won't wait long." The next day, Wang heard doors opening and heavy footsteps pounding. Fear gripped him. He worried for Tu, the boss's daughter, but even with worrying, he dared not step outside. These men could kill him like a mosquito, and even if he survived, parts of his body might be lost. From the third floor, Huang still heard a voice shouting, "Boss, where are you? Come out, there's work for you." The boss replied nervously, "Do you need anything else?" "Yes. Call the best girl here, my master is impatient. If he's unsatisfied, your end won't last." The innkeeper, trembling, stammered, I don't provide that service, sir. Maybe call elsewhere." The man's eyes bulged with rage. "What did you say? And in without that service, you better fix it. 10 minutes if not, you know the consequences." He gave no chance for explanation and headed upstairs. The boss considered calling the police, but dared not. Even if they could protect his family, the gang's vengeance later would be worse. The last 10 peaceful minutes passed, and now a furious man stood before him. "You think I only talk but won't act. Are you tired of living, sir? You misunderstand. I don't have that service, and I don't know who to call. I beg you, beg. As the plea ended, the brutal kicks struck his stomach, sending him collapsing and groaning. The man continued raining blows on the boss. The fat innkeeper rushed out. "Hey, what are you doing? Let him go." When she rushed to the scene, a violent slap struck her face like a bolt from the blue, sending her staggering and crashing face first to the ground, blood pouring from her mouth and nose and splattering across the floor. The nose drew attention. As the landlords, the daughters rushed out of their room, both freezing in terror at the sight. "You stop right now. If you keep this up, I'll call the police." The man was about to kick the landlord's round face when he heard 3 and stopped instantly, his eyes scanning her body from head to toe as if dissecting her. Then he smirked. "Damn, this is the real deal. Why didn't you say so earlier?" While the landlord struggled up, begging, "Please, those are my daughters. Don't hurt them." "Shut your mouth or I'll cut out your tongue right now," he snapped, then turned to LN3. "So what? Do you want to save your parents or not?" And just by looking at him, they both understood exactly what he meant. Till terrified, hid behind her sister, while 3 forced herself to stay strong and said, "What do you want? Don't you know this is against the law?" And he burst out laughing, still trying to use the law to scare us. "I'm so scared. then coldly added, "Behave and everything will be fine. Serve well and maybe you'll get money. Otherwise you already know." As 3 more men came downstairs, one of them said impatiently, "What's taking so long?" And the other replied, pointing at the girls, "Boss, we found the goods. What do you think?" As their hungry eyes scanned them like prey, both sisters trembling under the gaze, and the man nodded, "Good. Even better than I expected. These are clean right, yes, boss. They're the landlord's daughters. Then stop wasting time. Take them upstairs. After young Master Thean finishes, it'll be our turn." And they immediately dragged both girls away despite desperate screams and the parents being beaten down brutally for resisting. Upstairs, Thean, half drunk and half conscious, lit up when he saw the 2 sisters. "Not bad. You did well. I'll reward you after this." Then he lunged at 3 like a starving beast, and despite her struggling, he tore her clothes apart. While in the next room, Hong heard everything, his blood boiling and fists clenching until purple. Though he didn't know them, he was shaken by their inhuman cruelty, remembering 3 was gentle when they spoke earlier, and despite rage rising, he forced himself to stay rational, refusing to throw his life away meaninglessly. Hong quietly called the police, hiding in the bathroom, whispering to avoid being heard, while screams, laughter, and violence kept tearing through the walls, his rage growing until he could barely breathe, feeling like he might storm in with a rifle and kill them all. Then suddenly his phone rang, and the sound nearly stopped his heart. He instantly covered it and turned it off, narrowly avoiding detection. As the chaos continued, and someone downstairs shouted, "Stay quiet if you want to live," while the landlord begged, "Please don't hurt my daughters," before a heavy impact echoed like a head smashing into the wall. "Dad, Dad, wake up, please," the woman screamed as the landlord lay in a pool of blood, his skull seemingly split, unresponsive and no longer breathing, while the mother lunged in desperation and was struck down repeatedly. Her head slammed into the ground again and again as horrifying sounds echoed through Hong's mind like hammer blows, until everything suddenly went silent, and, sensing it, 3 gathered all strength, pushed Thean away, and ran downstairs, only to freeze in horror seeing her parents lifeless in blood. "Dad, Mom," she cried with no response. The men chased her, but 3 grabbed a knife from the counter. "Don't come closer, or I'll kill you," she shouted, eyes burning with rage. Then Thean appeared, dragging Elle by the hair. "Drop the knife and serve me, or both die." "Shut up, you killed my parents. I'll die with you," she screamed, and without warning, he pulled a knife and stabbed Elle as blood burst out and she collapsed. Then he stabbed her repeatedly, laughing. "It's you who killed her, not me," turning coldly toward 3. "Bastard, I'll kill you." 3 charged like a madwoman, but was surrounded instantly and struck with a baton, collapsing as the knife flew from her hand. Then they continued beating her until her skull deformed, exposing pale brain matter, while Hong watched from afar, his blood boiling. And after finishing, Thean calmly ordered, "Cut the parents into pieces and scatter them. Bring those to my room." And when asked why, he snapped, "Do it. Don't ask," while chopping sounds echoed below before sudden silence fell. Then Thean coldly said, "Throw those 2 corpses into the next room." That sentence felt like Hong had fallen into a bottomless abyss. He shot up like a spring, eyes frantically scanning the room for a hiding place. Inside, he kept praying desperately, hoping the room next door they mentioned was not his, But it seemed even fate would not protect him as heavy footsteps rushed closer. In an instant, he shoved all his belongings into his backpack and quickly crawled under the bed, lying perfectly still. The footsteps and a dragging sound, like something being pulled across the floor, grew louder and clearer. When the door opened, his heart nearly stopped. He covered his mouth tightly with both hands, sweat pouring down his body. One small mistake could mean instant death. The first body was dragged into the bathroom. He immediately recognized it was not 3, but the second body was thrown beside the bed, less than half a meter from where he lay. Hong almost screamed in terror. Thi's condition was horrific, her head twisted and deformed, only her eyes still intact, glowing red and staring wide at him. He could only look for a few seconds before quickly turning away, afraid he might scream. Unluckily for him, the 2 men did not leave. Instead, they stayed inside, sharing white powder, lighting it, and inhaling deeply right beside Thi's corpse, their backs nearly touching Hong, less than half a meter away. After getting high, they slumped down against the bed and began talking nonsense, drug-fueled rambling about nonsense things. Hong, though tense, felt slightly less fear, because if they were still conscious, that would have been far worse. But unfortunately for Hong, after finishing their drugs and rambling incoherently, the 2 men did not leave. Instead, they collapsed onto the floor and fell asleep right there. Hong remained frozen under the bed in the same position for hours. His body eventually went numb from exhaustion, and he passed out without realizing it. He did not know how long had passed when he suddenly jolted awake, his head hitting the bed frame painfully. A loud alarm-like sound rang in his ears, like an ambulance siren. It took him a few seconds to regain his memory. Panicked, he looked around the room, but there was no sign of them anywhere. Even Thi's body had disappeared. Confused beyond explanation, Hong slowly peeked out from under the bed to confirm they were gone. Then he quietly opened the door and looked outside. In the courtyard of the guest house, several police cars had arrived and armed officers were in position. A man shouted through a megaphone, ordering everyone inside to come out with their hands raised. Hong obeyed immediately and was quickly met with guns pointed at him. Only after confirming he was not dangerous did they lower their weapons. An officer approached and asked who he was and why he was there. Hong explained he was the one who called the police. The officer was surprised and asked why he hadn't answered the calls earlier. Hong explained he was afraid of being discovered at the time. He then recounted everything that had happened. After hearing it all, Captain Bach was stunned. He asked again if Hong was saying there had been a massacre there the previous night. Hong swore everything he said was true, and he would take responsibility if he lied. Bach gave him a strange look, not as if doubting him, but as if checking whether his mind was normal. He then stated that all the people in that house had died years ago, and the building had been abandoned since then. Hong was stunned and insisted it was impossible, saying he had clearly seen them alive the night before and that the owner had personally brought him there. He also mentioned the 2 daughters, Elle and 3, and that they had been brutally killed in front of his eyes. Now Bach was also shocked because those names matched historical records of the case. Hong further claimed the leader was a man named Thien, possibly linked to someone named Siench and illegal business dealings. Bach immediately stopped him and pulled him aside, asking him to come to the office for a private statement, saying the matter was extremely serious. Hong was confused and asked if they suspected him of being involved. Bach denied it and said they fully trusted him, but what he described matched an unsolved major case from years ago. If he could provide more clues, they could finally solve it. Hong was even more confused, asking which case he was talking about. Bach explained it was the same case, but it happened years ago, not last night. Hong felt a chill run through him. He no longer doubted that it was real, but the events he witnessed also could not have been fake. His mind spiraled, unable to distinguish reality from illusion, and he could only conclude he had encountered something supernatural. Helplessly, Hong postponed his trip and agreed to cooperate with the investigation. At the station, he retold everything in detail. Captain Bach listened carefully without missing a single word, even sweating slightly despite the cool air. The story was too detailed, logical, and consistent to be fabricated. Bach himself could not understand how Hong knew so much about the old case. He then showed Hong photos of suspects. When Hong saw one of them, he immediately trembled and identified the man as Thien, a cruel and deranged criminal he would never forget. Bach asked if he was sure. Hong confirmed 100%, saying he would recognize him even if he turned to ashes. A few months after the investigation, Hong received a call from Bach. He was informed that thanks to Hong's testimony, the old and Bien Yuen guest house case had been solved. The authorities expressed their gratitude and intended to award him a certificate of merit. Hong humbly declined any public recognition and asked them to simply send it to his home. Bach agreed and mentioned a news article titled The Bien Yuen Guest House Massacre and the Horrifying Hidden Truth. Later, Hong read it. It confirmed the perpetrator had been sentenced to death, while Thien had descended into madness, showing violent, self-destructive behavior. His father, Siench, was sentenced to life imprisonment, marking the end of the infamous Sienchim criminal empire. Back in the present, Hong's cigarette had burned out and his coffee was empty. It was almost midnight. He stretched and went to bed. That night he dreamed of them again. This time, all four were smiling brightly, waving at him. They held hands and walked into a blinding white light, gradually disappearing until they were gone. The light slowly faded, leaving only an empty, cold, abandoned guest house in his eyes.